and then easy enough to show them. And then just trying to book us in. So if my flight is 9:50, I got a 9:50 flight tomorrow morning.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can confirm that the live stream and recording has begun. I have a motion put forth by Councillor Wink, seconded by Deputy Mayor Eckert. Be it resolved that Council reconvene this regular meeting. Mayor.
Thank you. Call the vote. All those in favor of reconvening the meeting in open session, motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to staff reports requiring action, 13.2. Our first item is 13.2.1, MCC concession review and proposal. A motion put forth by Councillor Nisnik, seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-080 for information, and that Council directs the CIO and the Director of RCW to take all necessary steps to initiate option blank as identified within the report. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on from council on the A and B options that were included in the report? Councillor Olson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I guess in general, I've always found the response of the people who operate the concession down there to be kind of wooden, and I think their presentation is kind of pedestrian, and so's the menu. I don't think we want to replicate that. I think we should turn this over to private business, the people we compete with, rather than adding to our staff. I'd be very reluctant to take this up. I think if there's going to be a process, it should involve an investigation of other things. It's a high-capacity building. It should have 570,000 people a year go through there. Perhaps we should operate this strictly from vending machines, or maybe we should go to strictly order at the tables. Because in Japan, I can recall in the 80s going to Japan, and you pull into a truck stop, and everything was done by vending machines, right up to including French fries and all the rest of the stuff. You didn't have much of a staff. You had somebody to you had somebody to make sure the place was clean, and that was it. Very high capacity. There's opportunities here for, I think, us to have more revenue, lower costs, more productivity, and it's also an opportunity to turn something over that. Should the town really be in the restaurant business when we have restaurants all around it and paying taxes, and should we really be competing with them? So I'll leave my comments at that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other truck stop stories that you have that you want to reveal at this time? Thank you, Councillor.
You mean the one where I worked like a rented mule all my life, that one?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? Councillor Kerr.
I'll just thank you through you, Mr. Mayor, very quickly. When I went through the University of Guelph, I worked at a bar and food place on campus, hired by them. The person operating it was a graduate of a hotel and food administration program with an extensive background in the food service industry. It was, you mentioned, I listened to the Councillor Olson talking about 500,000 people going through. Well, we didn't have 500,000 people going through our bar, but we had a lot of students. but organizing it and managing it and operating it took a pretty good skill set to do that, along with staffing and everything else to make sure everything worked the way it should. And it was an annual review. And similar to the MCC, it was a blanket license with multiple operations within a single facility. So that type of person has to have a pretty good background, budgeting, analysis, forecasting, labor relations. There's a zillion things that go into it. So I'm somewhat, I agree with Councillor Olson that looking at the two options that I have a concern. I'm not concerned that we're competing with private industry because it is a municipal building. We do sublet part of it, I guess, for the skate sharpening and other things to other people in looking at it. But this is a big thing for that facility, and I'm just a little concerned that we're moving into it, albeit with the people to run it, we have to ensure have the skill sets to do something to undertake of this magnitude from my perspective. So that my own instinct is I'll be honest, I'm leaning more to option one than I am to option two for those reasons.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kerr, and I'll go to Councillor Wink.
Thank you, Mayor. What's being proposed is we're looking at a brand-new line of business that we're trying to enter, and I'm concerned about the skill set that we have or that we would have to obtain, similar to Councillor Kerr. When he was back in the day at university working at the, I guess it was a keg at that time. The rules and regulations about food and beverage service have changed immensely. So just even the preparation and the handling of the food is not something simple anymore that you can grab your hand in a box and throw a burger on a flat top. You have to know how to do that properly, and you have to have a special skill set. What's being suggested here is a 16-month trial, and we think we can break even. So we're doing this on a wing and a prayer because there's no profit and loss analysis. There's no budgeting put through here. We don't know the food preparation, what the margins are on food. Yeah, we know what margins are on beer, but we don't know about food. We're not incorporating spoilage of food or whatever. This is brand new, and we don't have the skill set or this sufficient training of staff to handle this. I agree with Councillor Kerr. I'm leaning the other way, and if we were to look at option A and get someone else in here, we don't have to go with the same lease arrangements that we've got because, quite frankly, it's very low. The annual lease is just ridiculous, like $3,000 a year currently. He operates, doesn't have any overhead costs because we pay for the lights and the water and whatever. Plus, he operates a number of vending machines. Like, we've got to look at, here's an opportunity that we can look at this and provide much higher revenue for us to offset the costs that are there. And I think we know what our costs are going to be. And quite frankly, I think you'd be surprised, because if we can sit there and say, here's 550,000 people coming through the door, do you want to operate a concession stand that people will be clamoring for it? So personally, I would be looking towards the first option.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wink. You do bring up an interesting question that I'd like to ask the CAO. If indeed this goes out on the Plan A, how would we, the rental agreement, was that, would you just put in there negotiable? Is that how you would do that then? Or would you set a rate?
So I think on behalf of your leadership team, we were kind of waiting for direction that you'll be providing momentarily with whichever option the majority of you prefer. And then when that first decision is made, we know how to go from there. I can tell you that if it's option one, it's going to look like a dramatically different RFP and requirements than has historically been the case. We have no data, no sales data. We have no idea how many hot dogs and bowls of soup are sold in the last 6 years. Zero. We do know that 577,000 human beings came into the building last year, and we can see the usage of the vending machines. We have lots of staff and with eyes and ears and lived experience, but we don't have any data, and it's a very common requirement, for instance, for landlords to demand sales data from their tenants in all sorts of commercial undertakings, not just restaurants, but I'm sure every mall in this country requires that of its tenants, for instance. So that regardless of the way forward, to answer your immediate question, if that's the way we're going, we'll do it quite differently than was done years back in the past. And I don't mean to sound critical of our predecessors. The building wasn't even finished. There were a lot of things going on. We had less institutional capacity. We got someone in, and that was probably enough, and move on to the next hard thing, getting the building built. But now that we're standing on the shoulders of our predecessors and we're at this point, if that is the way forward, I can tell you, although I don't want to get into all the details and we don't have it 100% mapped out, there are a number of things in the minds of several of us that need to be in so that we have better data and we understand more, and we just don't. We know foot traffic into the building because we have technology that gives us that. We know our hours of operation, and we know what the public pays for the various goods, food products, and of course we operate the bar upstairs, so we have that data. We understand that quite well, but we don't with respect to food service just have that data. So it's certainly not just my intention, it's the intention of the whole leadership team that no matter how we proceed, whether it's a 16-month trial period, we'll be gathering data as we operate, or whether it's an RFP, RFQ, some sort of purchasing mechanism going forward that results in a third party, we'll be gathering data either way. And if it's a third party, they're going to be contractually obligated to provide us with some, and if it's us, we'll be gathering it ourselves. But either way, we're going to end up with better data in the future for better decision making.
And then if I may, Mr. CAO, if we do indeed put out an RFP or an RFQ, and I can actually see that we may not get a taker if that was to happen, then obviously this comes back to council.
Yes, look, the public reports ably written by both the manager and director of RCW, when we looked around at best practices, like the experience of other municipalities in Niagara in the last few years has been getting 0 bids for this equivalent service. Like that is a one potential outcome. Admittedly, I don't think other facilities have 577,000 foot traffic. That's a real selling point, but it has happened in lived experience recently amongst some of our neighbors, and I'm sure elsewhere in Ontario, though I can't speak to that personally. So we don't know what'll happen as a result of that, but we will be. April and May are our least busy months. It's March. By the end of May, and the current contract ends end of last day of April. So we may need to do some sort of bridging thing, which I think we will. If you elect to go with option 1, and we're unsuccessful in finding an operator, or even if we are successful in finding an operator, but he, she, or it cannot start in time, then we may look at food trucks to bridge the gap and some sort of temporary service provision as a bridge function. But if we're unsuccessful, we absolutely do have to come back to council, and then presumably council might consider the other option at that time. So we have some plans going forward depending on which decision you make. We will react accordingly, and it will become a corporate priority because time is of the essence on this file.
Great, thank you for that clarification, Mr. CAO. And Councilor Nesnick.
Yes, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to this. So I'm maybe of a different mind. I'm excited about option 2, to be honest with you. I think it's a a good segue into trying out the in-house operation for for the 16-month trial period. It does appear that the bar upstairs is making a profit and covering expenses. Adding food up there would be more of a convenience for our arena folks who are up in that level during the floods and that sort of thing. I know one of our groups has applied for a skating competition for next year. If successful, that will bring in an extra, probably 100,000 people, not that many, but probably another 10,000 people anyways over that weekend. So, which is a nice, which they're always looking for food and drinks and that sort of thing. I agree that the food handling industry has certainly changed, and I think we have very capable manager in place that we've hired now to be able to guide and lead a person to success in this area. We have the facility there. Past experience with the contract concession has not been successful, so I'm not sure why we would want to go down there again. I believe that we have some staff on staff currently, or we could find staff who would manage this very, very well. Moving forward, getting the food handling license is something that certainly we would be a cost, but that's not hard to do. I myself have done it. I've done the Smart Serve. So those are both done online, and they're good practices to have in place. But I think we could make a go of this, and I think we have the leadership currently in the building that would support having it. I also think the advantage of having someone keeping it in-house, as outlined in the report, it has a lot of opportunities. I think your operational hours would be more successful if you have just, a small industry coming in. They can't work those number of hours, whereas we can massage it and staff it accordingly based on the events. And then you can coordinate with the event organizer to know when you need the food services open and make that schedule happen. I know other arenas, I'm in arenas all winter long, so I know at one time Fort Erie had McDonald's in there. That was a failure. I know they also had a restaurant. It was I think it's still there, but they have some sort of success in this, but that's a separate restaurant altogether. But the McDonald's, the vending machine, it's gone back to, I believe, in-house operation. I'm not positive, but it looks like it might be just an in-house now. Most of the arenas, I know Oakville looks as though they're an in-house operation. So it's not done in other towns and communities. So if they're doing it in these bigger centers, I think there is some money to be made, which again would help contribute to our operational budget there. So those are my two thoughts. I'm excited about choosing option 2 personally.
Thank you, Councillor Nesnick. Any other comments? Councillor Hildebrand?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. From my point of view, the food and beverage industry is a very difficult business to make any money. We're trying to enter into a new business venture where we've got essentially no experience. Qualifications, requirements for that area are different than they used to be in the past. Margins are low, and as far as I'm concerned, we really don't have a business case presented to us. So for me to approve this, I can't approve the in-house solution at this point, and I would be voting for option 1.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hildebrand. Councillor Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am in support of option 2. I think that we have some quality people that can adjust to this. We have some experience already operating the upstairs Chofie's Corner. I have had the privilege of traveling around Ontario like my colleague has, following my grandchildren in Ringette. And between games and before games and after games, I don't know why, but it started out in Hagersville a number of years ago, where I would go over and I would speak to the concession people. So I have had the opportunity of seeing these arenas where, first of all, it's very, very difficult to get an outside contractor to bid, because unless they're a really tight kind of mom and pop organization, that is looking to supplement income, let's say, they don't generate enough income for families to live on, and it's a lot of hard work. And what I noticed is every single year you go back to the same arenas and it would be a different operator all the time, because people would go in for a year and say, I'm not making enough money to pay my mortgage, I'm out of here. The ones that are successful, there are some private that are successful. Contrary to what my fellow councilor said, they're the ones that keep the menu simple, but it's very good. And people go back for the same things. We're not in there for a sit-down, elegant dining experience. We're looking at grabbing a burger or a hot dog or French fries or chicken fingers between games. That's what families are there for. I go to a lot of arenas now where the concession stand is not even open. And it's because they can't get private to come in, and they don't take on the opportunity to run it themselves. So I'm in favor of option 2. It's a 16-month trial period. If I'm sure we're gonna start up in a slow period, we're gonna get in through the summer, we're gonna get the opportunity for our busy season, and at the end of a year, we're gonna be able to say, okay, we need to hire out, and we would be able then to put out. We're also going to have the knowledge of just how much we're putting through there, so that we're open and honest with anybody that wants to come in and take that contract. So I would be in favor of option 2 at this time.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Eckert. Everyone on this side has spoke, so everyone has spoken. Guess we'll go ahead, Councillor Kerr.
I just like to say I appreciate the comments of the other councillors. I mean, it provides good discussion on both sides of this equation. I started the conversation in a heavy lean in one way, and now I'm rethinking my position, I'll be honest, because at least you hear different perspectives. I still am in my concern mode of the skill set required to undertake this type of operation, but I agree. The worst thing in the world is when you go in and you see a rotating, open, closed, open, closed, open, closed, inconsistency. This is something, as Councillor Deputy Mayor Eckert has brought forward, was the numbers can be collected. So even going into a negotiation, should it be decided that it should be put out for RFP, we have a lot more information of hard numbers for flow-through to work with. My instinct was, coming into this council, was the prior commitment was a semi-strong arm tactic of the particular situation, because it was all or nothing, and I had multiple entities, and I just didn't like the way the last time we got into this whole renewal of stuff went through, because it was so quick without a lot of time to really think it through, and we were kind of stuck. So I guess my comment is that I'm always open to thinking of things and listening, and it will come to a vote, and I can't say 100% right now, but let's just say I'm not as locked as I was previously.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to the Director of Recreation.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make it clear that, yes, it's something new. Do we have the expertise? Maybe not totally, although we do have, staff with our food handling, and we do have the experience that we, with the SOPs and the through AGCO. We also currently, we work very closely with public health and the concession as it's ran now. Because at the end of the day, yes, we do have someone providing the service, but we own it. So again, we do work with public health. We have our food handlers. We do have experience on basically feedback from the public on what is working, what definitely is not working. And with the decision that council made a couple of months ago to change the way we're operating, we found as staff, this is an opportunity to improve our service. And we will be, as we know, we do have customer service staff on at the moment that are part-time, although we can use additional time that they're allowed. But we will definitely be hiring a couple more staff in which we will be requesting food service. We will be requesting, you know, the opportunities that we need to provide the service. So it isn't like we're totally going in blind, but I can definitely tell you we've had 2 months basically to investigate. So now what? What are we going to do? Are we going to go status quo as we have in the past? And quite honestly, if that's council's decision, we will proceed the way council directs. This is just an opportunity that we have now just because of the situation, and that's all.
Thank you, Director. Before we get down to voting, just my own feelings. It is, I agree a lot with Councilor Wink. It is a brand new, and it's one thing to sell alcohol and sandwiches, but to get into running that kitchen down on the concession, I think it is a different, it's a different animal. Everyone here, both arguments make sense. We don't want to see someone come in on, after 4 or 5 months, we have to go through this whole process again. So I can see the benefit of being in-house. But myself, I would like to see us go out to the neighbor, to the community, see if there's any interest in an operation that's already ongoing, whether it be in Fond Hill, whether it be in Fenwick, and they're interested in coming in and seeing if we can make a deal with them and go from that. And number one, there's a very good chance, I believe, that we're not going to get anyone, but at least we've gone out there and we've given it a shot to the community. And number two, if indeed that endeavor doesn't have any longevity to it, then I would be looking forward. I would look forward to the keeping it in-house. But my vote right now would be option A. Let's see if there's any demand out there, and that's how I would vote when we call this. So that's my feelings on it. Nothing against the town staff. Like, all the events we run around here are top-notch. No question about that. But if there's someone in the community that thinks they can bring in some other ideas, any kind of innovation, I think I would like to see that first. But that's just my own, that's where I stand on this issue. Madam Clerk, Councilor Wink.
So just to add some comments based on my former employer, if I had a small business person that came into me and asked for financing of a restaurant or whatever the business may be, and they didn't have a business plan, that what was included in the business plan was projected income and expenses, we wouldn't even spend 15 minutes with the person. You know, we would suggest that, yeah, maybe you better go back and reassess what you're doing and provide a plan and provide some projections, but without those projections on where the income's going to come from and what are your expenses and your overhead and your financial margins, we just wouldn't do it. So that's where I'm at on this. I don't have a business plan. We're looking at a hope that we're going to make money. And I can't, based on my background, I can't do it I can't support a hope that it's going to work. So there's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. I'll go to the vote, or one more?
Are we able to talk a little more about
Well,
it or not?
Go ahead. It's an important issue.
Yeah, I think it is an important issue, and I think, is it would it be a possibility that we could defer this decision? If would staff have an opportunity to go back and come back with some numbers and a bit of a business plan based on projections? It would be conjecture and projections at this point, we know, but certainly, I don't know, is that a possibility? But I hate to push, I think we would, like, I respect the mayor's point of view about taking it out and seeing if anyone's there, but I think we can do all that. You're going to know pretty quick whether you're going to make money on this or not. So I think 8 months in, you're going to know whether it's a possibility, a positive move for the town to be doing this in-house. And if at that point, the numbers are saying like, no, man, we're losing money, certainly get out there and look for the RFP at that point. To send out for an RFP and have nobody respond and then have to come back to the table and brainstorm a different option, I'm just wondering if going with option 2 would give us that time to either prove the point, disprove the point, and then move to the RFP as needed, because I don't think we want that shut down for any amount of months in a row. That's just not good business. I think the business case has been set out by the MCC staff in terms of being able to provide this service, and it is a one-stop service, and that's why we brought the other little business in there with the skate sharpening, because it's there, it's handy, and the same with this. It's there, it's handy. Is it going to make us thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars? Probably not, but I can't see it not breaking even. Just in my past. I know, like, I've worked in restaurants when I was a teenager, 1 year as a parent, and I had 2 early teens, preteens. We ran the kiosk down at Harold Black Park. We made money. Did we make a lot of money? No, but we certainly covered our expenses. But anyways, those are just my final thoughts. Thank you.
To the CAO, I saw you reaching for your microphone.
Well, initially, Councillor Niznik was asking a question, and historically, I hope that we've built a track record with each other where we try to bring you the best business case possible with as much data when we propose if there's a proposal coming from the staff or the administrative arm of the corporation. We've provided you with all the data we have. There isn't anything we've held back. We didn't think we had, and I stand by we didn't have direction to try and come up with a full-fledged business plan for a restaurant. That would take a lot of time, effort, and possibly expertise we don't have. We know there are 577,000 who came through the doors last year, right? That's the salient piece we have. And the rest is firsthand observation from lived experience from 3 dozen staff. And probably every member of council was in the building last year too. So we can't do better, but also time is of the essence. Again, the current contract expires the last day of April. We are here in March, and there's only 1 meeting between now and then, in the second week of April. So that's all our time. So we do need a decision from you today. We're happy to take any direction you see fit to provide. I think if you go with option 1, we're going to limit the contract to 2 or at most 3 years and have some data. If we go with option 2, we will be collecting data and we will be back in less than 16 months. We'll probably come back at the halfway mark and then again around month 12 or 13, somewhere in there with a sort of a final report, but either way with some data. At the moment, whether we're letting out a tender document or some sort of publicly competitive process, or we're proceeding, we're doing so, there's some amount of leap of faith because we don't have more data than we held nothing back. That's what's in the report is kind of what we have that's salient to the decision. So that either way, that's a challenge. And either way, there's a leap of faith with either avenue. And both have some merit. I think the report says that, and I think you've all flagged that. This is a tough call. So I wish you well in this decision.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilor Olson?
Mr. Mayor, to the CEO, I'm surprised to hear that we'd be talking about a 3-year contract, because if you're going to develop a business and you're going to make an investment in something, and you're probably going to be looking at leasehold improvements, I would suspect you'd probably want to have something like 10 years to make a valid business case. And, you know, that's not going to be an easy thing to do, to ask somebody for a 3-year commitment on an investment like we're looking for. Just a comment.
To the CAO?
I can say it's certainly not how I view it, and I think I'm not going out on a limb and just making representations on behalf of senior staff. The last contract, we got $3,000 a year in rental income, which is to say close to zero. So it's not a material line item in our budget, to use the accounting speak. So we don't know how much we get on the next one, but that's where we're starting from. And it has to be long enough for it to be viable to someone to take a chance and make a business. So 6 months or a year isn't going to do it. But if it turns out that in fact there is good money to be made here, as we think is certainly a viable possibility, because to iterate, 577,000 people came through the doors last year. Then we don't want it to be long-term and to be on the wrong end of an unfair contract. So whether it's 2 years or 3 or 4, like it's something in that range. In any event, I don't know which decision. I don't want to belabor the point. I can tell you that this will be the dominant item of our, or however you vote, this is going to become the corporate priority this afternoon for your leadership team, whichever way, because end of April, right? So we have to move in either event.
Thank you. Thank you for those words. Councilor, you still have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'm a little surprised as well that we would seek an estimate of fair market value for renting the room, I guess, and renting a restaurant space, and that's the most we could expect, I guess, if we were to look at what do we call it? They're the private sector alternative, I guess. Is that correct?
Any idea on that yet, Mr. CAO?
Honestly, I don't want to litigate this in public. We have experience and capacity at letting out purchasing opportunities and taking quotes and tenders. We're capable of that. Just when you've had your discussion on its merits, I really think at this point in time your vote's appropriate. We will react in a corporate way once you make a decision. That's all I want to say.
Councilor Olson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess, so if we're going to get a report back at whatever point here, and I gather from you're going to be expeditious about looking at this and thorough about looking at this. And I don't, we just don't have enough time to attract somebody. So I think I'm going to reconsider myself and go along with the in-house option here. And satisfied that the objections to this are on the table, because I think we just don't have the time to do a proper job on the independent option here. So I think I would be going towards option 2, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Must be pointed out that we are going into what I would, and just making the statement, correct me if I'm wrong, we are going into the slow time of that concession stand. So whether, I don't know if that's a valid reason why, whatever, it's your reason and that's fine. Really, let's, unless Councilor Crew, you have some great thing, let's go ahead.
One little comment. I think probably, and just so others, this is a finite period of time that we're talking about. Potentially with this option. It's a 16-month, so there is a sunset period on it. This isn't like we're jumping into it and we're stuck with this for 10 years. So that has to weigh into my decision as well, that admittedly there's learning curves and everything else, but it's just because it's a finite time. We are somewhat behind the 8 ball relative to ensuring that something's continued. There would be ongoing reports come in, not just waiting till the end of 16 months, but as was mentioned, probably 6 month, 12 month, 16, like I would think that would sort of give us some better feel. So that's what I'm weighing in the back of my mind, that this is not we haven't signed a contract for 10 years with somebody. That this is a different thing, and it would just change, instead of going the RFP, which is a whole bigger ball of wax, and getting nobody, and then what do? I think we have to think to be expeditious about it.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. I see no other comments. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Through Mr. Mayor, I would be looking for an amendment to insert one of the options into the motion.
Okay. Anyone want to put forward that amendment? Counselor Nesnick?
Yes, so I would. Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just add in where it says initiate option number 2 as identified in this report.
Okay.
Thank you. I have Counselor Niznik as the mover, and I'd require a seconder.
Okay, and Counselor Eckert will second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and discussion on the amendment.
Okay, any further discussion on the amendment? Motion is for option 2. No, not seeing any other comments. Call the vote. All those for option 2 and against option 2. Option 2 carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the motion as amended. I'll go ahead and use the same mover and seconder as the amendment, and the motion as amended, inclusive of option 2.
Okay. This whole Counselor, you'll be moving that again? That's what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, if that's okay, I can just use the same. Perfect.
Okay, Counselor Eckert? Okay.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Any other further discussion? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to your next staff report, 13.2.2, Rules and Requirements for Recreation Program Participation. I have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Wink, that Council receive Report 2025-0083 for information, and that Council approve policy number S70105, Rules and Requirements for Recreational Program Participation, as appended to the agenda. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any councilors' questions, comments on this? Councilor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the director. I've read through the report. Thank you for the report. The only area of the report that I question is the waiver part. And the questions I have there are separate waivers to be signed for each program session, because if I take spinning, it's a 10-week session. Other sessions have different things. So I could take 3 or 4 of those sessions in a year, and so each time I'd require a special waiver for me to be signed. And also, the second question was, the proposed policy attached 3 standard waivers based on activities involved, but does not define a time, and the wording is all the same. So is that signature valid for how long? So those are my 2 initial questions. Thank you.
To the Director of Recreation.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the questions, and I could answer them, but I'm going to pass it on to our manager, since she has authored the report, and I know she spent a lot of time with our solicitor as well on this, so take it away.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Vicki. Through you, Mayor. So the answer to the first question would be yes. So separate waivers for each program would be required, just because each program is different in scope. And then the length for the validity also varies based off of the program as well. Some programs are 10 weeks, some programs are 1 day. It really depends on the actual program. But I'm also just going to give the opportunity for our town solicitor to be able to speak on that as well. Thank you.
To Ms. Sturton.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, thank you, Councillor Hildebrand, for the questions. So I think one of the things we need to do is look at the waiver forms themselves. As you've indicated, they are standard waiver forms, but they are, in their wording, specific to the program for which a person is registering. So it says, in consideration of allowing me to participate in the program referenced above, I'm waiving my rights with respect to that. So that was intended to indicate that the waiver is valid only for the duration of that program, because that's what it relates to. So in the context of the membership card purchase for drop-in programs, again, the waiver is made specific to the membership card that is issued. So again, by implication, the validity of the waiver is tied to the duration of the membership card. And the reason that we are recommending that we have a new waiver be signed each time someone wishes to register for a program or buy or renew a membership card is because of the case law in this area. Frankly, it's a little bit nuanced, but because different programs carry with them different risks, and signing a waiver that says, I promise I won't sue you, town, even if I get hurt while playing pickleball, that's a big deal. Signing away your legal rights is a big deal. And because the risks associated with different programs vary, my recommendation is that we require somebody to formally acknowledge and actively sign something that says, I understand there are risks, and I'm saying I agree to participate with knowledge of the risks, and I promise I won't sue you. So those are my comments.
Councillor Hildebrand.
Thank you for those comments. I have no problem with signing for the document for the first spin task I take, but having to come in the next 10 weeks, sign it again, and sign it again, and sign it again, and sign it again, signing for my tennis membership, signing for my pickleball membership, signing for my volleyball thing. To me, I belong to the Y and I belong to other activity clubs. It's one signature, and at the Y, it does it all. The other clubs, one signature does it all. I don't understand why we couldn't have just an overall waiver, and then if you need each session signed, you could have I don't know whether I think you're talking about me coming in physically signing the form. If you had it electronically, maybe once a year I could sign a form. Electronically, if you had a form, for me, when I signed up for the session, I ticked the box, just like you do when you accept conditions on something. I'd be agreeable with that. But to me, I think we're going overboard in the number of signatures we're requiring, the number of pieces of paper we're going to generate, and then it becomes an administrative burden. That's my view.
Ms. Certain, any comments?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. So there's two aspects to that comment, Councillor, and the first is the electronic piece. And it's very interesting. There's a very recent case pertaining to an injury at a trampoline park. And as everybody knows, if you want to go to the trampoline park, you got to get online ahead of time and sign the waiver. And the court made specific note of the fact that the waiver required sort of active interaction, in the sense that it specifically said she wasn't just scrolling through, she had to touch these tick boxes and so on. So I'm not opposed to the idea of the electronic waiver as long as we do include some sort of interactive component. I think that provides adequate sort of protection for the town in the sense of giving the person the opportunity to recognize what they're doing. Insofar as the sort of annual waiver is concerned, I haven't discussed this with Ms. Clint, but I take your point. If you're going to go to successive spin sessions and each 10 weeks it's the same program and the same risk, I would be open to developing a waiver that would cover multiple sessions of the same program, but I would strongly recommend that we require persons to sign a waiver, electronically or not, for each different program for which they register or intend to use a membership card.
Councillor?
See, I perceive a waiver for pickleball or tennis or those kind of things, very similar activities. So the risk to me is not different. So, there's several different ways I see waiver systems, whether you call it high risk, medium risk, or big risk. Maybe there's some other options we could consider it. It's just a lot of paperwork and a lot of administrative burden. I understand you need a waiver. I have no problem with that. Just how we accomplish it. And the other thing is, too, most of us, for me, if I'm taking a spin class, I want the 9 o'clock spin class. If I have to come in and be there however many hours there is ahead of time, because there's a lineup for those particular hours. So those are just my comments with regards to the waivers. Thank you.
Thank you. To the manager?
Through you, Mayor. Just to clarify, there is currently a waiver online for pre-registered programs. This is just more in depth. So I hope maybe that helps a little bit. Thanks.
Excellent. So we already provide that service of electronic signing of a waiver. Excellent. And obviously, if the person signs up, pays the money, doesn't sign the waiver, you will catch that. So when they come for the actual class, you would give them a physical waiver. Is that how that would work? Or would you just reject the application?
Yes, through you, Mayor. We actually would not even allow them to proceed with confirming participation in the program.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilor Hildebrand?
At least they're considering, if I'm doing it one after another time, that we don't have to continue to sign multiple waivers for the same program in the same year.
I can't help but think that to do a little check mark on an electronic form is not an effort for most people, Councillor.
I don't mind a checkbox in the box. That's no problem. But coming in and signing a form.
And I find this kind of strange, sir, because you were always talking about covering our liability, as am I. And that's what the waiver is about, is covering the corporation's liability. So I understand your thoughts on it.
Remember, I'm a cyclist and a motorcyclist.
Okay. Councillor Kerr, any further comments?
I support exactly. If they can do routine renewal of the waiver, annual signature is well within the parameters so that it just maintains currency. You can do everything electronically, pretty much in the world, except renew your Canada Post box, which I have my own beef with. But I have to physically go in and sign and say, yes, I'm still at that post. They don't charge me anything, but if I don't show up, they told me that I will never get my mail. And it's the same mailbox that we've had since mailboxes were invented with a postal key. So whatever, I think that's the route to follow, is look for the electronic capacity that we do it everywhere else.
So I'll give the last comments to our legal, Ms. Sturton.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, we do have the electronic capacity to implement the waivers. And if I'm hearing things right, I don't support the idea of an annual blanket waiver for all programs, but we could implement a waiver that is easily renewed for subsequent sessions of the same program, for successive sessions, I guess I should say. And I think that's easily done, and we can take that as direction. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any further comments on this agenda item? If not, I will call a vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Thank you. To the clerk.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Our next item is 13.2.3, options and requirements for automated speed enforcement in the town of Pelham. And I have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Eckert. Be resolved that Council receive report 2025-0079 for information, and that Council determine if the implementation of an automated speed enforcement in the town of Pelham should be pursued, and that if the implementation of an automated speed enforcement should be pursued, Council directs staff to request further information from the administrative penalty system providers identified in this report, including camera supplier information, processing capacity, and proposed pricing, assess the town's capacity to meet operational and reporting requirements for automated speed enforcement, initiate a conversation with the Ministry of Transportation and the Ministry of Attorney General in relation to the agreements required to use administrative penalties for infractions identified through automated speed enforcement, and provide a further report to Council by the end of Q2 of 2025. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Comments? Deputy Mayor Eckert. And Councilor, I apologize for not using your correct title up until this point.
That's fully understandable, Mr. Mayor, and I have been called worse. So the fact that you've refrained from that, I appreciate.
Thank you, sir.
On this topic, it's a favorite topic of mine. I appreciate the report put forward by Ms. Sturton. We have had some discussions in the past. At the recent Roma conference, Councillor Wink and I had lengthy discussions with one of the providers mentioned in this report, and in fact we put those people in touch with Ms. Sturton. Also, along with myself, Councillor Wink and the mayor and our CAO attended a presentation, a breakfast presentation in regards to this matter. And I know at this time, but it's far too early to say my preference. I know where I would be leaning, but I like this report, and I would be in favor of receiving this report and having staff pursue this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Eckert. Any other comments on the report? Councillor Kurt?
I think it's well written, as Deputy Mayor Eckert has brought out. I think it's worthwhile for council to have a full and complete report on this for us, put in front with all the economics and everything else associated with it. We know it's a hot button topic that across the region as it exists right now, when they have a tendency to put these pieces of equipment up, that the infamous battery operated grinders come out of nowhere and suddenly things are falling on the ground and things are defaced, and there's a lot of things going back. But having a fulsome report, I think, is the best thing that we can work with. It's worthwhile spent for the time, and after listening to having members of council go attend other meetings and be able to listen in a bit more detail than the rest of us about success, failures, and some other things, it's well worth it.
Okay, thank you. If I may turn to the CAO. So we vote to proceed. You will, obviously, you and staff will work to bring a report back to us. Is that when we would make the final decision about speed cameras, or would you like to think that if we are indeed taking the next step, that we are endorsing the speed cameras?
I always think when a municipality is considering a significant change in service, I always think it's helpful to think about off-ramps. As we move down a decision process, do we still have an off-ramp? So that you're not specifically become locked into something or develop rigid thinking early in a process. So what I would submit to you is if you direct us to write this report, you have one last off-ramp, which is to say when the report comes back to you. Your staff, unless you direct otherwise, we will take it as we are coming back to you with a functional way forward. There are 3 service providers. The report, I think, I don't need to belabor it, but very clearly, this is not the source. We're not buying a widget, and this is not something that should work through the traditional procurement method. This is already involved at least many, many dozens of hours, but I think we're into hundreds of hours between all parts of the corporation, corporate services, legal, public works, whatever it is I do, or like a whole several of us, right, together in clerk's department in different aspects of this, and would involve a bunch more. So I think we would come back with, here's how it works, here's the recommended service provider. We're not there yet. There are 3 very strong, viable candidates, all of which have some merit to them. But we would come back with a report, and this is, if you wish to do this, this is exactly how, what it'll cost, what our obligations are, what our timelines are. Like, here it is. And at that penultimate time, at that point, it's a yes/no for council. But it wouldn't be coming back with abstracts. It would be coming back with specifics. This is eventually, in the next month or so, 2 months, we'd figure out which is the best model for Pelham's needs of the 3. And then timelines, because there's a bunch of legal pieces and agreements with third parties, as you've seen. But we would come back with something very specific, the business case. But in this case, it's possible. And then you'll have your significant policy decision. So if you direct the report, you have one last off-ramp. You're not making the final decision, but we will take it as you've now had multiple reports on this, and if there's still strong interest, then we are coming back to you with a way forward that would be, I think, a yes/no.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarification. beauty. Thank you. Councilor Nesnick.
Yes, thank you very much. So I am not convinced I'm really in favor of going down this road. There's so much negativity out in the public world and in the reaction of citizens with this automated ticketing issue for speeding. I'm certainly in favor of controlling the speed somehow and hoping residents understand the importance of following the speed limits within the town areas, that sort of thing. And I'm just wondering if there are other options for speed control that we could also explore that would be less intrusive and less of a penalty system for our residents. Those are my concerns with regards to going down this road.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councilor Wink.
So obviously I echo Councillor or Deputy Mayor's comments because I was there with him. This is something that we're not at the leading edge on this. There's numerous communities throughout Ontario that have adopted this, and there's numerous more municipalities looking at doing this. Yes, there's some negative feedback from people getting multiple tickets over a short period of time, didn't realize that they were speeding and whatever, and end up getting 3 all at once. But unless people start changing their habits, you know, speeding is going to be an issue for a very long time. Speeding kills. Let's be blunt. Like, we're looking after the safety of the community and our residents and our children. So if we can slow people down a little bit, and I just love people that are bombing by my house and whatever, and thinking, would you have to do this if you left 5 minutes earlier? You know, so something's got to be done, and I appreciate the report that's provided in front of us. It is not an easy decision. There are going to be people out there that don't like this type of thing, but we have to make the hard decisions. And I am in full support of taking it to the next step. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? I will also vote for the report. And again, to clarify, Mr. CAO, if you will, the report, if we do make this step, and of course it'll be in the next report, I realize this, the cameras do go into community safety zones. Is that correct?
So that is correct. At the last meeting, of course, we had a substantial report about community safety zones. You had, well, in fact, you've had more than one report on that, but in fact, it's part of the strategic plan. And after very substantive debate, have both approved and initiated a process whereby this community will end up with more community safety zones, but it had to be in that order because that is ultimately where these cameras will go. And I don't need to rehash those criteria, but schools, long-term care homes, and the like. So those are the triggers, and these would be in the same locations. But we can work on the two things simultaneously, but the one has to, but it's not a chicken and an egg. There is a first and a second in this case. So that's why they're presented in this order.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Mr. CAO. Any more discussions? Councillor Kerr?
Just a quick query. In the report, it talked about who the providers of the penalty systems and things like that. Just as a general question, do we know of other communities within the region of Niagara that are investigating the same thing and looking to implement them? Or is this kind of one of those, people don't talk too much out loud about things?
Mr. CAO?
Well, certainly the region is looking to expand its program as one direct answer to you. They're actively consulting with both the town of Pelham and our neighbors. So that's a concept. And although not all municipalities are choosing to be forthcoming at this point in time, I know it's at least an intellectual exercise that many people on public payrolls are engaging in. We are not unique.
Counselor?
Thank you. Yeah, it was, that was the thing. My instinct is, again, ultimately, at the end, we still have an off-ramp if there is an off-ramp. If what comes back to us doesn't look, to me, and I guess that's when I get to make the final decision. This is following the path down. Having dealt with multiple friends who are lawyers and talked about the Highway Traffic Act and how they perceive it and how it's enacted. I think I'm supportive of going down the route that we get to there, and then we make the yes or no decision in the future. This just so everyone understands, this is not the yes or no decision right at this instant. The yes or no will be once the report comes back.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Any other comments? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Sorry, through you, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor. The motion is worded for council to choose an option. So as it stands, it sounds as if council would be in favor of this. I have prepared some language, if that is the direction. So if council was to be in favor of this, I'd be looking for an amendment that council direct staff to proceed with the implementation of automated speed enforcement in Pelham, and that council direct staff to pursue the various items that were included in that motion.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Kerr, will you move it? Excellent. And Deputy Mayor Eckert, you'll second? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for a vote.
The motion on the table, any other questions, comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor of the motion? And all those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does bring us to the main motion as amended, and if comfortable, I will use the same mover and seconder on that. So the main motion as amended would be to accept the report for information and direct staff to proceed with this route.
Okay, thank you. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And all those opposed? Motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to your next staff report, 13.2.4, proposed replacement of the Town of Pelham nuisance bylaw. And I have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Kerr, that council receive report 2025-0084 for information, and that council approve the bylaw in principle, and that council direct the town clerk to prepare and present the bylaw for consideration at the next meeting of council. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? I have a couple, if I can, to Ms. Sturton. So the main addition to this, of course, is the illumination. Yeah. And that applies throughout the town, not just the urban, but if there's a problem in the rural, we would also be looking at that.
Through you, Mayor, as long as it's not a normal farm practice.
Yes, okay, yes, okay, thank you. And again, this will, bylaw would have to go out at the appropriate time, and they would be enforcing the bylaw rules.
Yes, that's correct. And the enforcement options include administrative penalties, charges, and orders.
Yes, all right, very good. Thank you for that. Any other questions, Councilor Nesnick?
Yes, thank you very much. So again, I'm just with the illumination one. Just concerned that how we're going to distinguish between a light on someone's back porch versus that, and the person who owns the light on the back porch thinks it's nice because it lights up their back porch, but the neighbor does not like it because it shines into their bedroom window at night. So I know, like I read what it means to be that it has to kind of cause a nuisance to the neighbor. So just how are we going to distinguish that through this bylaw?
Ms. Sturton?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Councillor Nisnik. You're right, that's a challenge. What we've done in this bylaw is tried to be as specific as possible with the definitions, so that a nuisance light must by definition be a nuisance, and that has to be something that is injurious to health, offensive to the senses, or an obstruction to the free use of property. So it will be a bit of a balancing act, because the light from a nuisance light has to be easily perceptible from an adjacent property or some other property, that sort of thing, and it must also constitute a nuisance to the person who is perceiving it. So we can't, of course, contemplate every specific fact scenario that's going to come up, and the bylaw officers do have discretion that they have to exercise, but we've tried to sort of put some brackets around that by using some specific definitions. I hope that answers the question.
Councillor?
Yes, I think you've got it worded as well as can be expected at this point. So I guess we can move forward and see how it lands and how it works. I just, hope neighbors it's not butting neighbors against neighbor in terms of what a nuisance light is. So I know there in the past have been some conversations between neighbors about lights and that sort of thing. So hoping everyone can just cooperate.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? See none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Our next item is 13.2.5, 2023 to 2027 Strategic Plan Update. Mr. Mayor, Councillors Kerr and Hildebrand have declared a pecuniary interest with respect to a portion of this item relating to hydro. For procedural clarity, they are welcome to remain in the room for the discussion if they would like to. But with that said, there has been a request that the motion be divided into two sections to allow them to participate in the strategic plan, save and accept that item. Beginning with our first group, I have a motion put forth by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council receive Report 2025-0086 for information, and that Council approve the 2023 to 2027 Strategic Plan Update, save and accept the Strategic Plan Action Item, Future of Investment in Hydro, to be considered separately. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So we have to vote on that.
Yes, but you can have discussion
Yeah.
on the strategic plan, save and accept the hydro item.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yes.
excellent. So any comments on the strategic plan without the hydro point in it? Councilor Nesnick.
No, I just would like to send out a congratulations to our staff and I think our council. We've gotten some really wonderful things underway in the last 2 years. And, one of my concerns coming to council was always that it moves like a snail across a very rocky road. But I have not seen that here, as that's not been my experience. So I can, excitedly say that we are moving along in some really wonderful directions. So congratulations to those we've been able to check off our list. And moving forward, I think we have a manageable amount still in our strategic plan to finish up the next, I guess it's till 2027? Yes, till 20, so another couple of years anyways. So thank you for everyone's efforts.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? I guess I echo those comments. We had a great meeting at the MCC several weeks ago, went through all the items that we have done and that we had to rename a few, redirect perhaps, and then added quite a few more to make sure that Mr. CAO and town staff are kept busy in the next month or year and a half. And of course, my computer just chose this time to go blank, so I don't have the list on my to me. But again, it was a productive meeting, and yeah, I think that this, if we can continue to tick off the items as we in the last half of our term as we did in the first half, I think it'll be we'll be able to consider this a very successful 4 years of this council in office. So any other comments on that? I will just we'll call the vote on this particular one. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the next motion on this item, and that is moved by Deputy Mayor Eckert, seconded by Councillor Olson, that the strategic plan action item, Future of Investment in Hydro, be reaffirmed, removed, or renamed. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I guess before I send it out to council, to the members of council, I would like to just have this myself reaffirmed and continue to have the CAO move ahead with this project. Councilor Wink, I see you had your hand.
Yes, sorry for doing a contrary opinion, but I would like to see it removed at this point in time. We are the smallest shareholder in a larger corporation. It's not like we can move we've tried before, we can't move the shareholders ahead of us to look at a different view on the investment in hydro. It's just taking up staff time to continue on in this regard. Not to say that if someone much larger, as far as shareholders are concerned, would come to us, we would, at that point in time, we would consider options, but at this point in time, we can't push from below, so I'm okay removing it at this point in time.
So there has been other information. Mr. CA, how do you suggest that we go forward on this? Because the other information is indeed a monumental, I would think.
This year, so there have been some material changes in the overall operating and legal environment, firstly. 3 years ago, this corporation took at least an initial foray look at this concept and whether investment made sense, and broadly speaking, how might a return be maximized, or benefit from the asset be maximized. But at that time, the province of Ontario was taxing sales of hydro shares in hydro corporations when municipalities disposed of them, and that has changed, which alone is a enormous material change. Beyond that, my office has very recently come into possession of new information, and any penultimate decision of course lies with council, but I would submit to you there are enough material changes that I think it's appropriate. I would recommend endorsing staff spending time on this file. Ms. Quinlan Murphy and I have spent equal amounts of time on it, and her financial assessment is always more shrewd than is mine, but I think she's in complete agreement. I see a positive up and head down nodding motion, which I think means affirmation, and I think it's worth investigating further. There are a couple of different potential outcomes. There's at least one more potential outcome that wasn't on the table the last time we corporately turned our mind to this. So with new variables, I think it's worthy of analysis, and what that means ultimately, I have no idea, but I do think it's worth analysis at this point in time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. CEO. Councilor Wink.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CAO. So if we removed it, it doesn't mean it still cannot be worked on. It's just not as part of our strat plan. But because we remove it, it doesn't mean that we can't have meaningful conversation going forward on this, correct? Or not?
The way we've been operating for the past, call it 6 years, has largely been that items we have our day jobs, all of us, on payroll, and then the items that are sort of extraordinary tend to be listed as action items in the strategic plan, which is to say we all feel justified in spending what amounts to tax dollars, our salaries, our time, working to forward those things. If you remove this or if you affirm it, so if it's not on the list, there are, I think that will lead to 28 other things to spend time on. And barring emergency, we didn't think we were going to spend time focusing on a fire at the MCC last year. We did. But barring those sorts of things, we just spend our time on either our day jobs or those items that are listed as action items. So it won't make the top 28 on my desk. And from there, that holds true to other people in the corporation. We take our cues from you. We have you've identified a lot of things we can spend time on, and I'm very happy. We work for you, so we will spend the time where you want us to. But if it's removed, then I don't think it'll be a prime focus of this corporation or this administration.
To the Ms. Murphy Quinlan.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to support what the CO is saying. I think it's really important that it stays on the strat plan, especially with the changes, the tax changes that the province is pushing, that has proposed. It is a completely different time period than it was 3 or 4 years ago. So I think it's important even to send the message out that this is important to the town and we're looking at it. And so I would support the CO to say, please keep it on the strat plan.
Thank you. Councilor Wing.
Yeah, so based on the comments of the treasurer and the CAO, I'll agree with you, Mayor, and won't be contrary anymore, and just have this reaffirmed.
Welcome back to the fold. Thank you for those comments, Councilor Wing. Councilor Nesna.
Excuse me, sorry. So in looking at this, it's an asset the town holds, and the asset's not going to go away. It is bringing in some income every year. I think if you proceed with regards to its future in terms of, I assume the future of investment means you either keep it or you sell it. So once it's sold, it's gone forever. So I guess my concern is that I think we have enough other items on our strategic plan to take us from now till 2027. If that's not on the plan, it can certainly be revisited after 2027. So my hope is that it would be removed at this point.
Okay, thank you. And before I go to any other council, if I may, there is I've been talking to other people within the region, and the Council of Lincoln has written 2 newspaper articles telling the province to get ahead with amalgamation. If what is ours now, if we go through amalgamation, it's not ours anymore. It gets spread between whoever we get amalgamated with. So just also keep that in mind. There's a lot of, since that election, I can tell you that there's a lot of people knocking on Doug Ford's door, and they're a lot different than what we think in this council, that we want to go with the status quo. So don't be, I just want to point that out, that what is ours now could very easily, within the next year or 2, become 4 of the municipalities. So that's just the way it could happen. That's just the way it could go.
It's still us.
No, it's not us. It goes 4 different ways. So instead of being X number of dollars, it's X number of dollars divided by 4.
Well, yes, but respectfully, their assets would become ours as well. So so their stuff all goes 4 ways as well. So I don't think that's a valid argument at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Thank you. To the CAO, when was the last, and I can't remember the word, but the evaluation of our, the value of our holdings in hydro, and is that available for me or others to look at?
It's a challenge the CAO day. So firstly, I can certainly make any historical document available to any member of council. I'm struggling in my answer because I don't recall exactly what we left subject to closed meeting privilege, to which you have access, and what is in the public domain. But I want to give you a reasonably fulsome answer. So one, regardless of the answer to whether that what's public domain and what isn't, you're a sitting member of the council and can be provided that information. Answer A. Answer B is both Ms. Quinlan Murphy and I are in possession of much more recent valuations that are not in the public domain and form part of the basis of our answers to you today. So if this is a file upon which we are directed to work, there will be at least an update which would be properly subject to closed session, and more information can be provided to you. And if we're told not to work on it, we will respect you, of course, and go on with other things. But I do have access to recent information, but it's sensitive in possession of third parties and a whole bunch of other things. So I hope that's a fair answer.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. So clearly at this point in time, it's very fluid. Would that be a good?
That is the perfect characterization, and I just kind of regret that I didn't come up with the word myself.
Is that, those
Yes,
are them?
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? If not, we'll call the vote.
Sorry.
Turn to the clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd be looking for an amendment to strike 2 out of the 3 options, which would leave the desired option in the motion. So
what's
not to be confusing, but
What's the desired option?
that's
Go ahead,
for you to decide.
Councilor Wink.
So I move that we remove the word remove and renamed and keep it reaffirmed.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder on that? Deputy Mayor Eckert, you'll second the motion. Any other comments on the motion before us? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote on the motion. All those for it? And all those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the motion as amended, which is that the strategic plan action item, future of investment in hydro, be reaffirmed. And if the movers and seconders are agreeable, I can reuse them for this motion.
Okay, yeah, I agree. No, you're good? Okay, excellent. We stay with the mover and seconder. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? And all those against? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 16, and I have a motion put forward by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following, do now read a first, second, and third time, and do pass same, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws as follows. 14, 2025, being a bylaw to exempt Block 151, 59M 505 from part lot control. 15, 2025, being a bylaw to rezone the property at 1415 Station Street from Village Commercial to Village Commercial 168 Holding. 16, 2025, being a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment number 22 for the Town of Pelham Planning Area, 1415 Station Street. And 17, 2025, being a bylaw to set the rate of taxation for 2025. To Mr. Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Any comment, discussion on the bylaws? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to motions and notices of motion. We do have a notice of motion presented by Councillor Niznik this morning.
Councilor Nesnick, you have the floor.
Yes, I had a note somewhere. I had my note, but can't seem to locate it, so I'll go off the cuff. Thank you. Yes, I would like to ask if, through you, Mr. Mayor, if staff, Public Works could create a report on increasing the number of parking spaces along Pelham Street. Currently, when I went from Highway 20 down past, let's say, the Eye Vision Clinic, how's that sound? So going south, I counted a possibility of increasing the number of parking spaces between 5 and 7. So I think we need to increase our parking there in order to help our businesses maintain a lot of activity and increase support for some of our senior residents who have difficulty climbing the hill, getting into the back of the stores. I know I have an elderly parent who cannot access the bank very easily because in order for her to park in the back, then she has to somehow notify the inside the bank person, who has to then come out, get a key for the elevator, turn the elevator key on, have her go in the elevator, it rises her up onto Pelham Street, and then she has to enter the bank from the front. It's utterly ridiculous when there is certainly a parking space available that's being taken up by a tree, where she could easily pull in and park. So I would like to, there would be some removal of maybe some of the metal appliances that are along the road that were put there to beautify that part of town, as well as maybe a tree or two would have to be removed, with the idea that we'll replant many trees in other areas that don't take up parking spaces. So just asking for a report on that, if that would be possible. That's what I'll be bringing for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And that, Mr. Mayor, brings to your notice of motion.
Yes, and Council, I apologize that I didn't have this in the agenda. I actually just thought about it this morning, looking at the news that's before us for the last couple of weeks, and God knows how much longer it's going to be there. But I thought that perhaps, and this will be in my motion in 2 weeks, and this is not to put any slight on our budgetary process that we all went through, but I'm wondering if in lieu of the possible higher strain that's going to be on Canadian businesses, Pelham businesses, if I'm going to ask staff to have another look at the budget. I realize we've already sent out some RFPs and some budget money has been spent, but I'm going to have I'd like staff to take one final look at the budget that we passed, and is there, in concerns with the economic situation that we're finding ourselves, or very well could find ourselves in, if there is indeed any items that we could either reduce or eliminate to the next budget year. So that's my motion I'm going to be bringing, and we will have ample discussion at that time. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to Councillor Olson's motion on Highway 20 runoff at Marlene Stewart Street Park, and I understand that the Deputy Clerk will be reading this into the record for Councillor Olson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas 12 Mile Creek is Niagara's last remaining cold water habitat, home to native species such as the brook trout, making its conservation essential to protecting our natural heritage and biodiversity. And whereas since 2013, organizations including Trout Unlimited Canada and Niagara College have prioritized restoration and protection efforts to enhance fish habitat within the watershed. And whereas road salt runoff has increased salinity levels in 12 Mile Creek, posing a significant threat to aquatic life that requires cold, clear, oxygenated, clean water to survive. And whereas existing regional infrastructure may be available to address this issue, but may require assessment and improvements. Therefore, be it resolved that Council directs staff to prepare a report in Q2 of 2025 outlining potential measures that the town can implement on town-owned property to prevent, reduce, or slow the entry of road salt into the creek, and that town staff engage Niagara Region staff to determine the performance of the existing stormwater management outlet at MSSP and review maintenance and operations standards from the stormwater management outlet, and that town staff collaborate with the Niagara Region, the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, service clubs, and community organizations to support any stormwater management outlet rehabilitation project to maintain quality levels for water discharging into the headwaters of the 12 Mile Creek Rehabilitation Project.
And Mr. Mayor, I forgot to mention that is moved by Councillor Olson and seconded by the Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olson, any further words on your motion?
No, just, I want to say thank you to the clerks, of course, for all their assistance, including reading that lengthy motion today, and to Councilor Deputy Mayor Eckert for seconding for me. I think the motion speaks largely for itself. There's a very serious situation, and it's part of the amount of salt we use on the roads, which seems to be increasing. And I'm not saying that we're using too much, but I don't think we're capturing it when it goes into the stream properly. And this motion calls for a cooperative effort between Niagara Region and PCA to determine what maintenance is required in the system as it exists right now before we add any money to it. I also believe that if it's put in this fashion, that there will be available funds in the 12 Mile Creek, Upper 12 Mile Creek Rehabilitation Project, which has completed the work behind Pelham Cares, working on the work behind the Lions Club, and I believe that that's the body and the vehicle to get us to the improvements that we need here. We're at the stage now where the trout are coming back in the creek, in 12 Mile Creek, but they can't come through this branch because of the salinity in it, and before they can be restored, this has to be fixed.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Eckert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was pleased to second this motion. I think it goes hand in hand with the improvement and enhancements that Councilor Olson mentioned behind Pelham Cares to improve or eliminate some erosion in that area. We also have an erosion project, I'm quite sure, a little bit north of Highway 20 in that area that's coming up shortly. Is that correct?
Oh, Station
Around the
Street,
pit?
perhaps.
Station, yeah. And I think this just goes, it's just the next logical step. And, you know, one solution doesn't solve it, but a number of things that can be done will help this situation. So I was pleased to second this motion.
Excellent. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments on the motion? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the motion? And I see none opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing this motion to council. To the clerk.
Mr. Mayor, that brings you to the second in-camera session today, and I have a motion put forth by Deputy Mayor Eckert, seconded by Councilor Hildebrandt. Be it resolved that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public in order to consider the following: personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, labor relations or employee negotiations. 2 items: consideration of appointment to advisory committees and Niagara Regional Council. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? See none opposed. Motion carries to move in camera. And plus, I'm